I did have something that I wanted to do, which just I want to ask you about your thoughts about Twin Peaks.
Oh, yeah. It's great, but you have to surrender yourself to it. You have to, and you can't be on your phone.
No, that's true. You cannot be on your phone.
You have to be with
I've
this.
learned that one.
It is all things all at once. So you can go from a scene of the broadest slapstick comedy you've ever seen in your life that's hysterical, and literally the next scene is something that is so terrifying. It was that delicious pit of your gut, irrational fear that you only have when you're a child, when you're like, I can't walk down the hallway because something will come and get me.
Yeah.
But in that same hour, I felt hysteria and I felt emotions, all kinds of emotions. And I think that's what I love about Peaks, but it seems to be a lot of the things that people don't like about it. It's inconsistent or it's stick to a tone. And I get it. But
so I often gravitate to the my entertainment. I want to be sugary and sweet. Like I'm a shocker for.
You're the problem.
Not only with like television and not music. Music, I'm like music. Give me the real.
Film?
Give me film.
You're not a big film guy.
Not a big film guy.
Have you ever? And there's no judgment call in this at all. Have you ever questioned why you want fairy floss all the time?
Television-wise, I want fairy floss because I work all day, and if I'm not working, generally I'm working on something, whether it's music or podcast. I have this one moment of entertainment, and that is my time to not be challenged and actually just enjoy and take a break. You know the room, okay, so it's the room with the short-statured man, to use the correct term.
He's a dwarf.
Dancing in the one where Agent Cooper, the protagonist.
Short-statured man.
Sure. She's my cousin. That kind of thing.
She's my cousin.
She's my cousin.
Anyway, so I came home from work and my girlfriend was watching Twin Peaks. And and it was that section where they're in the red room with the short-statured man talking.
Sequence.
And he's like, yep, what? And it's just really, really creepy. The way he's moving around, it just freaks me out.
I've got good news.
And I just turn to her and I just go, I don't need this.
The next train to arrive on Platform 1 goes to Town Hall via Airport. First stop Campbelltown, then all stations to then Holsworthy, East Hills, Panania, then Museum, Smashness, Walleye Creek, Washness, Yegalicus, Daniel, What's that? Yipsphere, Einana, International Terminal, Oxford, Green Square, Washness, then Ellwood.
Ben Ellwood, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, we're recording?
Yeah.
Oh, here we are. Hi.
I'm trying to do the what is it? Pete Holmes.
The Pete Holmes, the Marc Maron kind of the nerdist technique.
So what do you folks do?
Have you been recording me this whole time? Have I said anything that I don't want to say?
No, I think we're only about 2 minutes in, so it's all good.
I stand by all my statements for the most part.
Cool. Well, I don't do an introduction to the podcast anymore because they sounded terrible. So
that's one of the main reasons that I've never done I did briefly do a podcast, but it all fell apart. But one of the hardest things for me was that whole okay, guys, welcome to the.
Oh God, I hated it. That's why I scrapped it. And half the time I end up touching on the subjects anyway.
Yeah, right.
So I don't need
right.
to do it. And there's a description below the podcast. Of
course.
So they don't really need to.
Welcome to the show.
So Ben, you're a comedian. You've been a comedian for ages. See, I have to do a little bit of it.
No, of course, because no one knows who the fuck I am. I've been
You're one of the biggest guests that I have, so don't put yourself...
Well, you know, hey...
That says more poorly about my podcast.
That's more of an indictment on the guests you've had thus far. I've been doing stand-up for where did all the time go? I started in 2005, so this is my 12th year of doing it. I kind of peaked around the 07 to 10, and then everything since then has been a slow dwindling into doing it now and then, but mostly just when I enjoy it rather than pursuing it as a career, because it is a motherfucker in this country.
Yes, it seems that way, particularly in Sydney more so. Does that feel like it's, I mean...
Yeah, I think Sydney's...
Just compared to Melbourne, really.
Well, Melbourne gets the cred because they got all the festivals.
Yeah.
But I think the scene at the moment in Sydney is probably... healthier. I say that with not really knowing what the scene in Melbourne is like at the moment, but there are a lot of rooms in Sydney at the moment. Trouble is, most of them are open mic rooms where there's
it seems to be the case.
I call them bucket list nights.
Right. Okay.
They're not really comedians. They're dudes like, oh, Cheryl from accounting said I was funny, so I guess I'll give that a go. Check it off the bucket list. I mean, good for them, but at the same time, there's a difference between getting up once a week in front of people and reading off some notes and, going out to Lambton pub in the middle of fucking summer and dealing with 400 drunk cunts. I'm allowed to say cunt, aren't I?
Yeah, you're allowed
cool.
to say whatever you want.
Very good.
I don't, because that's the thing. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of what is required. Or, not what is required, but I have a pretty good grasp that I don't have what is required.
I wish more people did know that.
Well, yeah, people often they just see something. People do this. I'm going to say this really generally, but they'll just be like, "Oh, how hard can it be?" People say that about fucking everything, podcasts included as well.
Agreed.
Everyone's just like, "Hey, now your podcast is up. Maybe you can come out for a drink," and it's like, no, because I've got fucking 23 more episodes to do, and I don't think you understand how long this fucking takes to edit.
Totally.
And
well, it's that thing of I think, look, most people have the ability to be funny, particularly if they're around their friends or their family or something. But there's a big difference between the story about your asshole high school principal that you tell at nostalgic high school reunion nights and getting up in front of a crowd totally cold. They're two completely different skill sets, and you see it, and the audience can intuit it immediately as well. They know when someone is up there that belongs there, and by belongs there I mean they've done the hours and the hours and the hours, and there's no darting eyes, there's no dry mouth, they're just comfortable, and whether the audience consciously realizes it or not, they relax.
But it's not like as a seasoned comedian you can tell someone the lessons that you've learned. It's just built up over time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sort of pinpoint it generally if you needed to, certain beats or playing for different crowds or whatever. But you wouldn't be able to say, oh no, here's what you do to be as solid as I am up there. You couldn't.
No, because it's just time.
It's just time,
and get used to sucking.
Yeah.
Be comfortable with the fact that you are going to suck a lot
for years.
And
people don't realize years.
Well, yeah, because it's that thing. I once did a gig where I got off stage and this guy came up to me and he's like, "Oh man, I really like watching you on stage. You're so comfortable up there. But when I watch you, I just get really angry with myself because I'm not that comfortable on stage." And I'm like, "Okay, well, how long have you been doing comedy?" Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, tonight's my third gig." Oh, yeah, fuck you, man. Yeah. You wouldn't fucking start plonking the keys of a piano going, "I've never played the piano before. Why aren't I Beethoven?" Because it fucking takes practice.
Yeah,
and something that looks effortless isn't effortless.
Totally, that's the thing. Yeah,
you have to put in a lot of effort to make it look effortless.
Exactly. That's exactly fucking right. And just coming from a musical perspective, when I see bands sort of getting big that are 19-year-olds, I'm just like, I wish you well, and you've got some good luck here, but there are lessons that I've learned over the last 10 years, and I'm not a successful musician at all, but now in a band that writes good songs. And I've never been in that before because I've never had... It's always been just like, oh, yeah, that'll do. That's a good song. Yeah. It's just like, no, the standard is higher now. Could anyone have written that? I mean, the principles of developing musically and developing comedically are somewhat
I think very similar. Very similar.
At least in terms of...
Absolutely.
In terms of the importance of originality and style and...
Well, because when you start... I mean, I assume it's the same with authors. You know, when you first... Or any creative...
Anything.
You start by emulating the people that you respect. Yeah. Whether conscious or unconscious, and that can be crippling.
Who was that for you?
For me, with comedy?
Yeah, who did you go up and do like a
fucking Bill Hicks. It was always Bill Hicks. Anyone of my age that started around the time I did couldn't help but be influenced by Hicks because he was you know, that's when he was at the highest level of his deification by the public. You know,
this is around 2001. I'm sort of guessing.
I discovered Hicks when I was just ending high school, and it blew the top of my fucking head off.
Anyone dumb enough to want to be in the military should be allowed in.
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Right. Yeah.
But like my siblings are all a fair bit older than me, and they were all getting into Hicks. And I think Bill Hicks had a thing on. They were playing two of his specials back to back on the Comedy Channel.
Yeah, Relentless and Revelations.
That's right. Yeah. And then we taped it, and so I watched it all the time, and then I was just like, "Holy shit! What the fuck is going on here?" He's saying all these things, and I'm like. And that was kind of one of the more eye-opening things for me, as it was for you.
Big time. Well, it was for me. It was, you know, I went to school in the northern beaches of Sydney, and fat little Jews do not fit in the northern beaches of Sydney. You know, and I've always had a pretty cynical bent. All these kind of things. You know, pretty high bullshit detector, that kind of stuff. But you know, all through high school. It was always like, oh, calm down, Tiger. Tell us what you really think. Mate, just chill out. You know, and me just like, oh my God, you know, I feel like the only sane person in the asylum.
Yeah.
And then you hear someone like that who is articulate, funny, brilliant, and he's articulating all these things that you've kind of thought, but you're suddenly hearing it externally all of a sudden. It's like, oh, I'm not fucking crazy. I'm not crazy because that guy sees what I see.
That's exactly
And that's a huge thing.
I mean, because I saw it in like year 6, and you know, you're not fully developed in year 6, but for me, because I had a very strong Christian education, and I saw I saw all these problems with it, and I remember just being just like, because I went to a really crazy strong Christian primary school. Like I'm talking, like they were on a current affair.
It's child abuse.
Well, like they actually were like we started talking about the Simpsons Halloween episode, and then their teacher came out and go, "Don't talk about that because you shouldn't mention Halloween because Halloween is all this kind of stuff. Like they wouldn't cover evolution, all that shit.
But your crazy fucking voodoo, I'm going to hell is not fucking awful.
And I remember like we had an hour of Bible study every morning, and one morning I was just like, and I remember just saying to my friend, just going, I don't get they were talking about God's wrath or something, and I'm like, I don't get why God would want us to. Why would he do all this stuff that doesn't make sense and then want to punish all these people that he loves so much? And I said that to my friend. He's like, yeah, I get that too, but just don't talk about it. And then I saw Bill Hicks, and I'm like, oh, fucking thank God. Thank God.
Yeah. It's really important at around that age where you start to question. If you start to question, some people never do. But I feel like it's really important to find your artists and your writers and your people who are maybe not validating your point of view, because you don't necessarily just want someone going, yeah, you're right. But, you know, at least along the same lines, kind of, you know, telling you, no, you're not crazy.
Yeah.
And they're not crazy either. They just believe what they believe. But, you know, you're not, you know, you don't need to hammer your brain into shape and pretend to believe all this stuff that you don't believe just to fit in.
Yeah.
You can tell them all to fuck off and find new friends.
Let me tick off my Marc Maron boxes of where did you come from, blah, blah, blah. You actually... Wait, you were saying before you opened for Marc Maron for a couple of weeks.
Back when he first came to Sydney, before WTF even.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's anyway, sorry. My points were, hey, where'd you grow up? You grew up in the Northern Beaches, right?
Well, yeah.
What did your folks do?
Mum's a teacher. Don't know Dad, but I believe he's a teacher. And The only reason I went to school in the Northern Beaches was because it was a selective, whatever that means, high school, and the family thought that was a great idea. In retrospect, probably not the best idea.
Yep, similar thing in my family. Yeah.
But, you know, you get
people
the life
make the decisions that they think of right at the time.
Yeah, of course. You know, my mum, you know, these days goes, I should have sent you to Newtown Performing Arts, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe in playing that game.
No, you would have been if you went to Newtown Performing Arts, you would be a very different person.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know if it would be for the better.
Well, I think you get to a place where, you know, if you are fortunate enough to, for the most part, be comfortable living in your own head, and that's taken a long fucking time, but, you know, in the last few years, I've come to that real calm, like, you know, and comfort in who I am, and, you know, I can sleep at night. There's no dirty fucking skeletons in the closet or horrible shit that I feel guilty about or anything like that.
I'm looking forward to when that happens for me.
It took a long time. Well, you realise how hard you beat yourself up as well, and how unnecessary that is. But, you know, I feel like if you're fortunate enough to be in that place, then, you know, if you went back into the timeline and changed anything, then you could potentially not be in that good mental space. You know, when I think of, you know, how spectacularly I burnt down my comedy career, you know, when every opportunity in the world was being handed to me on a silver platter.
What is this, like 5 years ago?
Around the kind of 07 to maybe 11 period.
And how did you burn it down?
Oh, I was like a catastrophic drug addict. I was, I think I was mentally ill at the time. Like, very, very chaotic and destructive, and just was not, you know, you realize with success, so much of it has to do with talent and luck, but it's also about time and place. And if you're not mentally in the place to receive the opportunities when they come, well, then you're just not. And, you know, for years I would beat myself up about that. But, you know, you get to a place where you're like, well, that's the journey, that's the story. And, you know, maybe if I had been in a better mental place around that time and things had gone differently, maybe I would have had a successful career, but maybe I wouldn't be happy in my own head. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think that one thing that is abundantly clear is that success absolutely does not equal mental clarity.
At all. And I've you know, through doing stand-up here and in the States and in London for, you know, more than 10 years, I've met a lot of very, very, very successful people. I'm friends with a lot of successful people.
Well, you didn't you guest host or something, Doug Stanhope's podcast?
Oh, yeah, I've opened for Doug a few times.
Right.
Yeah, and we did. That's a great pod.
It is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Feel free to promote other podcasts.
Yeah, episode 50 of the Doug Stanhope podcast. It's great.
Every podcast this happens, and I'm just going, this is a great podcast, and this one as well. In fact, just press pause.
Pods are great. Pods are fantastic. Yeah. So, and you know what? Doug is probably the only big name person that I know who is content and happy. Right. And that's because he has carved out his own life for himself, and he doesn't answer to anyone. There's very few people I know at the top who exist with a sense of calm in their heads, because there's also that fear of what if it gets all taken away, you know? There's so many plates to keep spinning. So, I mean, ultimately, you know, it's, you know, you can't play that whole, what if I'd done things differently, or what if this had happened, or what had happened. This is a long way of saying that, yes, I probably should not have gone to Manly High School, but I don't regret going to Manly High School.
So, do you live around here? How do you find it? Because what you said spoke to me in terms of what can happen around in the inner... So, we're in the inner west of Sydney, a lowercase liberal enclave, which is completely overrun with certain opinions, which I find myself, fucking hell, the cat's outside, which I find myself just constantly playing the devil's advocate.
Sure.
Like,
good. People should play devil's advocate.
I know, but it's like, I'm a lefty, and you're making me making me look like a conservative because I'm just like
I'm currently undergoing a similar difficulty.
I'm like, I fucking agree with all this shit. Like, I agree with.
Well, the problem is the left has gone completely fucking insane.
Yeah, the censorship is crazy.
Yeah, it's insane.
When did the left start doing censorship?
Yeah, and I get what bothers me about it is I'm the same. You know, I don't want to say I'm left because I feel like the language has become so loaded and kind of perverted where there is if you say now I am left, there is a radicalization to that I don't necessarily agree with. But for want of a better expression, I am completely left. I don't give a fuck what anyone does as long as they're not being an asshole to anyone else. Have at it. Enjoy your life. The problem with the left at the moment is it seems to be a race to who can eat each other the fastest.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, Bill Maher put it really well a couple of weeks ago. Don't confuse an imperfect ally for an enemy. Just because you're talking to someone who walked into the room and went, "Hey guys, it's I know, sure, it's not a gender neutral word, but that doesn't mean the person's a fucking bigot." They're your it's an ally. And what I fear that the left is doing is someone like me who is very, very left and has always been very, very left. I find myself rolling my eyes and going, "Oh, shut the fuck up," when these people start banging on. And if I'm doing that as someone who agrees with everything they're saying, what are the people that are centrists
totally
or on the right? And it's all it does is validate all these like whacked out opinions that the right have about the left, that it is just navel gazing and that it is just, nonsense.
Completely.
And, it isn't grounded in reality. It's ridiculous. I've been accused of being transphobic because I called a group full of people guys. "Hey guys, that's transphobic." I'm like, fuck, like really?
Yeah.
Like me and my best female friend call each other man because we watch Adventure Time a lot. You know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? Oh, that you're a bigot. Don't fucking tell me I'm a bigot.
No, not Adventure Time, of the term man.
Yeah, it's great.
When I was 18, I joined a band and all of them, their group of friends and everyone, they were all just like, "Oh, that's fucking over there, man." And I was just like, "Man, I'm going to start saying man, that's my thing."
You know what I mean? Or
the singer was a woman and we called her man. Like, she called everyone man. That was how it was.
And it's this thing of like, that's fine if you don't get into that, but you cannot say that no one should be into that.
Completely.
You're not validating the people that don't have a problem with that. So
what I don't get is that what the left is not understanding now is that change takes time, and you can't be angry at everyone and expect everyone to change their... I mean, it was only a few years ago that... I mean, you look at the opinions of gay marriage in this country, it's only in the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years that it has reversed, which is fantastic, and I completely agree with all of it, but... sorry, you were going to say something?
No, you finish.
The example that I was thinking of that I did want to bring up to you, just because it's been on my mind, even though it's a couple of years old, is the what's his name? Chris Gale. What's his name? His name is Chris Gale, the cricketer who asked out that reporter.
Right,
Remember that?
No, I don't know this.
Oh, it was like it was a clip of I think he was Sri Lankan. Fact check that. And there was a reporter interviewing him, and he's answering the questions, and he's going, "Oh, you have nice eyes. Maybe we should go out sometime." And she was just doing a job, and the point was that was very inappropriate, and I completely understand that and completely agree with it. Yeah. But the thing is that I grew up around these societal attitudes of you've got to be this sort of like, oh, that would be a charming male move. And then there was an article on Junkie that was saying, all these these dumbasses at the cricket games have signs saying "We stand with Gale" or whatever. I think it had the caption, "Oh, go home, it's your bedtime" or something. And it was like, you have to understand the context that stuff takes time. I grew up completely... I finished high school in fucking 2006. I grew up around that mindset.
Dude, when I graduated high school in 1999, in the year that I graduated, 1999, our woodwork teacher would stand in front of the class and talk about how there were no, quote, faggots at Manly High School. And that if anyone was a, quote, faggot, they needed to be sent to some kind of re-education centre. He was saying that in 1999 in front of a room full of people, and guarantee there were gay people in that room.
Yep.
He was not at any fear of the risk for his job. There was no consequence to that. That was a perfectly acceptable thing to say. So, sure, we're not as far along as we should be as a society. Absolutely.
Yes.
I would love to get to a point... forget about tolerance or acceptance. I would love to get to a point of total indifference. And I don't mean indifference in the sense of callousness or not caring, but just you are judged by the virtue of your character, not by identity politics or who you sleep with or any of these things. These are baubles, decorations. These are aspects. They are not the totality of the human being. The human being is a complicated organism, and where they were born or what God they believe in or all these other things are interesting, but they're not it. Yeah. And I feel like at the moment with identity politics,
everything
it's it. And the reason the left will not win is because they are consuming each other at such a fast. I talked to a friend of mine who was part of a pretty whacked out left-wing anarchist cult for a while, and I used the word cult fully cogent of what that word means. Yeah, of course, they're a fucking cult. I used to do gigs at the Black Rose in Newtown a few years ago, and they're fucking insane. Guys telling me that if only they could have half an hour with the Prime Minister of Israel and the Prime Minister of Palestine, they'd solve the Middle East conflict. And it's bullshit, cool, you're gonna have a fucking shower before you meet those guys because you stink like shit, dude. She was telling me, she was like very kind of browbeaten and cowed for a long time, shifty eyes, couldn't talk properly to people, very anxious all the time. And then I saw her a few weeks ago and she was like, like a blossomed flower, like so happy and open and, ruddy cheeks. And
this is the person who was
saying
this
is the person that was in the cult. And I was like, what happened to you? And she was like, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah. And I was like, well, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? She went to a party, bought a present for the host of the party.
Within the cult?
This is all cult members. Yeah. It's not a cult.
Okay, within
the anarchist, left-wing fucking, whatever. It's very easy to live off the grid when you're leeching on people who are on the grid. But anyway, I digress. And so she was having terrible period cramps. And a couple of hours into the party, said, I gotta go home. And they were like, why are you leaving? And she was like, I've got really bad period pains. And she was then encircled by people screaming in her face that she should check her privilege because there are transgender women here who don't have the honor of bleeding out of their vaginas, and you're making them feel bad by talking about your period.
This sounds like something it sounds like something that Alan Jones would make up.
Exactly. Jesus, I hope someone understands how fucking irritated I am by this.
Exactly. It is such insanity. And do they not and in the end, there will be one alpha left-winger, fat and bloated, who has consumed all of their friends. They will have no allies left because no one can be left-wing enough, or no one can be tolerant enough, or no one can. And and what they don't realize is it's like that is intolerance. Circling someone and screaming at them because they had the audacity to complain that they're in pain. Because they've got period pain. That's a privilege to be in period. What are you talking about?
That seems like an extreme example, but there's
you see it all the fucking time.
Well, Twitter, all that shit is completely full of it. And there's this weird sort of one-upsmanship where you can get retweeted and then it's just like, oh, you said it, you stuck it to them. And it's just like, you're not winning anyone over with this stuff. You're not.
No, you're losing allies. I mean, they're
losing me. They're losing you.
They've lost me. Yeah. They've lost all of my friends are, all very left or very open-minded, open-hearted people. And I don't have one friend now that feels comfortable calling themselves left anymore because it has radicalized to a point of absurdity. I'm sorry, but it seems like, and I know this is so fucking condescending because I'm fucking, getting close to being an old man and, everyone my age despises the generation.
I feel like
it's coming from it's coming from fucking 20-year-olds who know nothing, who talk in memes, who fucking get all of their information not face to face, not from other human beings, but from the internet, where no tonality or intonation exists. I think that's the big reason trigger words has become such a fucking thing now.
Yeah,
because there's no longer the majority. Human communication is a complicated thing.
Yeah,
like right now we're making eye contact. There's body language. You can hear the tone of my voice. I'm ranting and raving, but you, through being next to me, can see that I'm not aggressively attacking you.
No.
There's a lot going on. Very little of communication is the words. It's very little of it. You know, you and I could probably have a conversation. We've never met before today. We could probably have a conversation for half an hour just through grunts and noises.
Yeah, completely.
Absolutely. But the problem is when you take all of that out of the equation and you migrate online, all you're left with is the words. And so...
I miscommunicate with my band all the time.
Of course.
Because we just have the...
What does that comma mean? Why didn't you capitalize my name? Are you trying to minimize me?
I get in fights all the time just by complete misunderstanding.
Of course.
It's really hard.
What's the difference? You know, there's a difference between, oh, fuck you, cunt, and fuck you, cunt.
Yeah, exactly.
They're completely different statements, and the words are almost irrelevant. It's the tone of what I said to you. But if I wrote, fuck you, cunt, and press send... You wouldn't be sitting there going, oh, is he joking? You'd be like, what the fuck? What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, so the problem is, and then you've got, you know, people like us who can still remember a time before everyone lived most of their lives online, you know, at least had the advantage of coming up into our late adolescence and early 20s, still very much in the world. I weep for this generation that are growing up on the internet, and I know that makes me sound like an old fuddy-duddy, and I've had so many people say to me, you know, oh, what's the difference between this and TV? The difference is your TV was in your fucking lounge room, it wasn't with you on the bus and at school, and every available fucking free second, you know, there's no contemplation.
And everyone had to watch the same TV.
That's right, and there's no contemplation anymore. There's no room for contemplation. You can't, someone sends you a message on Facebook, and then it's timestamped, seen at 8:52.
Yeah, exactly.
And so all of a sudden this anxiety starts of like, oh God, I better reply. I you know, what if I want to take half an hour to step back and consider my reply? Or I just don't have time right now to reply. But all of a sudden it's this pressure to instantaneously weigh in. Yeah. And without really considering what you're saying, just... You know, oh, that group over there seems very, you know, powerful in what they're saying. If I just agree with that. I've had people say to me they don't agree with any of this left-wing bullshit, but they're terrified to be torn apart by an online mob. So they just go along with it.
Oh, yeah, completely.
At that point,
I've had to scrap entire podcast episodes.
It's unbelievable. But it's, you know...
Ones that weren't really good anyway, but like, you know...
Yeah, but, you know, it's this thing of like, but then how are you... You know, I got into a big argument a few weeks ago with this guy that was, you know, denying gender, and he was the one in the end that said, you know, oh, it's not, you know, I don't really believe that, but I don't want to get torn apart by anyone literally. And I was just like, you know, when the next fucking Holocaust happens, remind me never to hide under this cunt's floorboards, because if he doesn't have any kind of spine now, when we're in a room full of friends, what's it going to be? What's it going to fucking be when the jackboots are coming? And you know, are you going to fucking find your courage then? No, not at all.
Spineless to the left and spineless to fascism. You know, it's
exactly the
same. It's like, oh, I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it. It's like me in Bible study saying, why would God want to punish us? And it's like, yeah, I know, but let's just not say anything. Like, it's the fucking same thing. This is what
allows war crimes and Holocaust, you know. And you know, I understand it's
not the same, but it is the same.
It's the same. It's the same mentality that leads to it. The terrifying thing about genocides and Holocaust is not Hitler or Stalin. It's that an entire nation of people, millions of people can go, yeah, sure, let's shove kids in ovens. That sounds like a good idea. Why not?
Well, a lot of them didn't know, to be fair.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of World War II documentaries recently.
Sure, there were enough that did.
You know what they did? They like, when they were sort of going into Germany as, you know, everything was closing in on Hitler towards the end of the war, and then they discovered the concentration camps. They'd heard rumors of it, and even Stalin was still denying it, because he refused to believe it. But then when they went into the concentration camps, then they brought in everyone, all the local Germans who didn't really know too much about it. They knew about the mistreatment of Jews, but they were in the ghettos, then they were in the concentration camps, and then they go, this is what happened, and we are bringing you all in to walk through and look at all these people and all the bodies and see what happened so that you're aware. And it's awful footage. Like, it honestly, it's actually on Netflix, the documentary that the US government...
Shoah?
It's called Nazi concentration camps, and it's the actual documentary, like black and white titles going, this is a film of the US government to prove that we're not making this up, to prove to what they perceived would be potential future Holocaust deniers.
Yeah, of course. Look, I have sympathy up to a point, but dude, they were being fucking herded into fucking ghettos.
Oh, yeah. Look,
I mean, long before that.
Have you seen The Piano?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, my grandma was in the Warsaw Ghetto. That's where my grandma
really?
was. Yeah.
She made it through?
Yeah, of course. Well, I wouldn't be here if she didn't.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you had some old parents.
Yeah. She was in the Warsaw Ghetto, and my grandfather was in a lot of concentration camps.
Shit.
And ended up in Siberia and all kinds of stuff. So
how did he end up in Siberia? Sorry to go off topic.
Oh, no,
but
it's fine.
Yeah.
Just became a prisoner of war. He ended up escaping a camp. Or no, maybe it was towards the end. I've got the whole... before he died, me and him sat down and we audio recorded his entire story.
I did that with my grandmother who passed away last year.
Very important.
Yeah.
But God, I haven't listened to the tape in a decade or more. He ended up in Siberia, and then when he got out of Siberia, he went back to his hometown, and that's when all the pogroms were going around trying to finish off whoever was left, and he ended up getting hidden in a family friend's shoe store, and then when he came, when that all ended, he became like the 1940s equivalent of a stand-up comedian in Poland. As a way
really?
Well, that was a big part of my family is, that life is going to fuck you up and you better learn to laugh at it because it's, it's really the only way to navigate it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that's stereotyped about it's
a big thing. Which is, again, feeds into my real distaste for a lot of what's going on in the left now where, you can't joke about that. You know what? Some people...
You can joke about anything.
Well, first of all, you can fucking joke about anything. Thank you very much. My grandfather made the most vile fucking Holocaust jokes till the day he died.
Really?
Absolutely, because it was his survival mechanism. So don't, as some fucking 20-year-old whose biggest tragedy in life was mum forgot to pick you up from soccer one day, fucking tell people who have actually survived some really horrific trauma that they can't fucking joke about it. That's their survival mechanism. Fuck you.
Yeah.
It bothers me so much, this fucking... what's happening in the left now, it's a form of fascism, and what they don't realise is, on a long enough timescale, this mentality leads to book burning, and it leads to genocide, no matter if it's the right or the left. And historically, the left have killed a lot more fucking people than the right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's true. You compare Stalin to Hitler.
Talking to a 20-year-old the other day, and they were like so proud of themselves, going, me and my family only go on vacation to communist countries. Oh, well, bravo. You only go to communist countries.
Who are you talking to?
I don't even want to name this person.
Crazy.
This person's a fucking idiot. But we only go to communist countries. Cool. Do you fucking tour the gulags when you go to Russia?
Yeah.
Do you go to the fucking killing fields?
Do you go to the Road of Bones?
Idiots. What are you talking? We only visit, communism doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying capitalism's great either, but,
Nothing
Jesus.
works. You just got to balance it and keep retuning it as you go along.
But it's this militancy,
it is the militancy, and that everyone knows.
And denial of fact.
To say that that's the thing about the left. Everything is black or white. There's no grey areas. And areas are grey. That is the world. The world is chaos. You can't impose these, rules because... you will get disappointed time and time again. Do you want to spend... you'll get disappointed because the world isn't moving as fast as you want to. First of all, why are you getting pissed off about someone using the wrong pronoun when their heart is in the right place?
Of course.
Getting pissed off about Karl Stefanovic saying tranny, which... few years ago was an okay term, and I'm not saying it's a good term to use or it was okay then. I'm just saying that culturally that was accepted. Right. The world doesn't move as fast as you want it to. Focus on the fucking things that matter. Donald Trump is president.
I know. And this is the thing. I mean, the left is a large part of why he is the president.
Oh,
because
completely.
you go around calling every fucking person a Nazi and a Hitler, and then when a real fucking Nazi and a Hitler shows up, no one's taking you serious anymore because you're calling everyone that said, "Hey man," or "Hey dude," or "Hey guys," a fucking Nazi. Shut the fuck up. You're an idiot. There are some real fascists. There's some really scary motherfuckers out in the world right now.
Yeah.
And we need to focus on those guys. Again, stop confusing an imperfect ally for an enemy. It's not the same thing.
Speaking of imperfect allies, one of the perfect examples of an imperfect ally, a strange phrase, would be when they were trying to, when uni students were trying to, I can't remember which uni, but they were trying to stop Germaine Greer from speaking because she said some things that were transphobic. I don't agree with them. I think that she's wrong. But at the same time, Germaine Greer was one of the principal feminist figures.
They eat their own. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's
they
just
eat their own.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but just because someone doesn't tick all the boxes, it's.
And where's the compassion? You know what I mean?
There's no compassion.
There's so much talk of acceptance and compassion. You know what? Fucking Jimmy Oz, who's lived in a fucking tin shed in Western Australia his entire fucking 75 years, who only just last Tuesday found out that trans is a thing.
Yeah.
And because he's not on board right now, we'll fucking burn him. We need that guy to die. He needs to die. He's white.
Yeah.
And he's fucking what? You know, it's crazy. Do you not want to give people, a little bit of fucking breathing room. And I'm not saying, and the problem is, you talk about any of this stuff in a rational way and you end up sounding like you're a fucking right-wing fascist.
Completely.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like we were saying, we are pretty, economically, I am left-wing and in social values, I'm progressive. Certainly, I think, if you were to get everyone in society, lay them left to right, I would absolutely be progressive. Of
course.
I'm an inner West lefty. But I'm also have empathy for the fucking people that
Of course.
Yeah. Do you want another beer?
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
All right,
I'll crack it when I want it.
I also have empathy for people who haven't been exposed to that all the time.
Of course. And new ideas are difficult. And, I find I think what bothers me as well is a lot of the time I'm getting people who are 20, 21, getting up in my face, banging on.
Is this after a stand-up set? Or?
No.
Or you've said something loudly?
No, because most people know where my heart is.
Yeah.
But again, it's that thing. These are the people who, these are the people in the same class as people who think that someone saying I'm going home because I've got period pain is boasting about their privilege. It's insanity. But it's this thing where it's like, I think the other reason it bothers me, it's like, hey, back off, man. Yeah. I assimilated all this a long fucking time ago. Yeah. You were a child when I was hanging out with fucking drag queens snorting amyl nitrate. You know what I mean? Don't fucking tell me. I'm there.
Yeah.
It's all good. I was there a long fucking time ago. And I think a lot of what the hysteria, to me, what it reeks of is, and I know when I'm assimilating a new concept or a new philosophy or a new idea, I talk about it with everyone because I use them as a sounding board to bounce it off and figure out what. And I feel like a lot of these people, particularly very young people on the left, that's what they're doing. They're banging on about this stuff because there's a difference between knowledge that you've just gained and knowledge that has completely been assimilated and has become a part of you, and it's no longer needed to even talk about it. Hey, we're all equal. Yeah, and we all breathe oxygen, of course. You know what I mean? I don't need to fucking bang on about that because it's a fact.
Yeah,
it is a 100% fact that I believe. Belief isn't even a part of it. It is knowledge.
Yeah.
Belief denotes that you could have any doubt. There is no doubt. So I feel like when people are banging on really hard about this and getting very kind of, burn them down, they said the wrong thing, I think they're still in a phase where they're trying to convince themselves that all this is true.
Well, it's almost like therapy for dealing with the world isn't moving fast enough.
Every day I walk out of my house and I'm bombarded with advertising that offends me to the core of my soul.
Like what?
Any of it.
Just the fact that
Cole stole real estate in my brain. There is a part of my brain that will forever remember down, prices are down.
Oh, with
they
the big
didn't
hands?
ask permission. They put it in there and they've stolen part of my fucking consciousness. I'm offended deeply offended.
I've still got a lot of my brain reserved for Mr. Yawn.
It's coming!
Hello, I'm Mr. Yawn. I've got something special to tell you.
I remember that guy. Terrifying. But
he's frightening.
Terrifying. But it's that thing of there hasn't been a day of my adult life where someone hasn't made a snide comment about me being bald.
Yeah,
You either spend your life crying or you develop a sense of humor about it and go, yeah, I'm fucking bald.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just the world is offensive. The world is deeply offensive.
Incredibly offensive. And I guess one of the hardest things is as we are two white males.
Yeah.
You have Jewish.
That's why I hold on to the Judaism.
So you can do that.
So when the white purge happens, I can be like, I'm not one of them.
Yeah. First of all, you guys are always included in the purges.
I know.
Everything about us is fair game as white men, which is somewhat okay because we do have an advantage in the world. And I see it all the time at work.
Yep.
I absolutely accept. Sometimes I will do something that is so... if I just say it with an authoritative enough voice at work, people take me seriously. That I know I have an advantage that women don't have, and that is that is unacceptable. I absolutely agree.
I see it all the time when I'm with my female friends. We'll be at a restaurant or something, and the waiter will only look at me. They won't even acknowledge my mom or my female friend. It's just, of course, it's rampant. It's horrific.
And it's really hard trying to contrast. Okay, I love Led Zeppelin. Jimmy Page is a fucking menace, or at least was. He kept underage girls, kidnapped, essentially.
Elvis Presley was a pedophile. Charlie Chaplin was a pedophile.
Yeah, and so you're seeing all this awful sexism, misogyny, all the barriers for women. You're seeing all this come out now. The problem is that when something comes out like that, and then someone puts a comment under the article saying, not all men, and they're like, you shouldn't fucking say that, and it's like, okay, but not all Muslims create terrorists. It's the same thing, and it's kind of really hard to attempt to justify your existence as a compassionate person.
Because then you sound like, thou doth protest too much. What secrets are you hiding? You can't defend yourself now as a male without being labelled a men's rights activist. And I get it. I'm no fan of white people.
Yeah,
not at all.
There's no question.
Look, most humans, let's be honest.
Based on everywhere I've ever worked, white men are the worst.
Yeah, but I've worked in places where non-white men are fucking awful.
I've worked in places where women have been
of course.
awful
It's
women
humans.
bosses. Yeah.
Human beings are awful. The thing is,
we're all awful.
Males have had the seat at the table for such a long time. So men have been in more positions of power to spread their toxicity and their vileness through the world in very insidious, fucked ways. It's undeniable. The Harvey Weinsteins, the Trump. I mean, Trump is just it's beyond anything. Yeah. It's beyond anything. He's the worst human being that's ever existed. But in a big way, I actually think it's going to be good if he doesn't destroy the world, because I think we have been increasingly sliding into a more and more vile age. And I think it's very good to have someone who is the alpha epitome of vile, so that we can all, as it's
a reality check.
Yeah, so everyone can go, hey, that's...
But they haven't. They did for a little while.
The world is. Did you not think he was going to win? I knew it from day one.
Yeah,
I'm on record saying it a year before it happened, and people are like, The reason he was always going to win was he completely changed the rules of engagement. Have you ever tried to have an argument with a 5-year-old?
No.
It's impossible. You can't win. You cannot win.
He'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
Doesn't matter how many cogent points you make. All they need to go, you're a bum head. There's nothing you can say back. That's the way he plays. So when he came into the race,
he changed the rules.
First of all, everyone was trying to argue rationally.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. Just like with a 5-year-old, doesn't fucking work. Well, you little Marco, exactly. Crooked Hillary. And then
Marco Rubio.
And that was the thing. The biggest mistake they made was trying to beat him at his own game. And you can't, because say what you will about Trump, he is very good at what he does. He's very good.
Oh, absolutely.
And he knows how to play people. And these people, Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz or Hillary Clinton, was never going to win a roast battle against Donald Trump. And that's what he turned it into. He turned it into reality TV. He was always going to fucking win.
Yeah.
It's an absolute fucking, it's beyond anything. Do you
think that if there was a different Democratic nominee that it could have been different? Say, do you think if it was Bernie Sanders?
Absolutely. Bernie would have crushed him.
What about, what if it was, I know he didn't go in the race because he had the tragedy with his son, but Joe Biden?
I don't know enough about what Biden's...
I guess Biden would probably be still viewed as part of the old Democratic Guard that at the time they were wanting a change.
There's a wave of populism going through the world where it was always a tear the establishment down election, which is why the Democrats were so fucking stupid putting Hillary up. It's like... it
was just like, no, guys, it's her turn. She waited. And it's like, okay, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that. And, I think Bernie would have won because a lot of his tenets are the same, but
he has class.
Through and through the lens of compassion rather than tearing everything down and wrecking everything.
Do you know Bernie Sanders? This came out a few days ago. Do you know Bernie Sanders and Larry David are related?
First cousins, that's amazing. Crazy? Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's I saw that and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
And well, their reaction was...
Yeah.
If Wall Street does not end its greed, we will end it for them.
Scum-sucking motherfucking whore!
And when hundreds of thousands of people have lost everything, have nothing left but the shirts on their backs, we will not turn our backs on the refugees from Syria and Afghanistan.
LOL.
Why say it? Why not just laugh?
Do you think Bernie would have won?
Hard to say. It's very hard to say. I think that...
I think he would have been a better debater against Trump.
Yeah, certainly, because but also I think that has to do with a lot of sexism as well, because Hillary, I think politics is completely skewed against women.
Yeah.
And if they have a strong opinion, then the public views them as
Shrill.
awful, and if they don't have a strong opinion, then the public views them as weak. There's no real way to win, and that's... those kind of things are the issues that are important to me on the left. I don't know how to address them other than more women getting into politics, but whether Bernie Sanders would have won or not, I think the public would have embraced him a little bit more because he is a male. I think the public would have embraced him a little more because he was not part of the establishment. I think that Donald Trump would have still found a way to zing him.
I think so.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think... I don't know. I think Clinton had way too much baggage. There was just too much baggage.
There's way too much.
And there was
whether
too
it was,
many...
Whether it was even some of the stuff, whether it was true or not. Like, I mean...
Yeah.
No, it didn't matter.
At that point, it doesn't matter.
The
if
Clintons
it's true
were
or not.
too hated.
Yeah, there's too much baggage, and this kind of like reasoning of like, well, it's her turn, just didn't wash. Who knows? Maybe if fucking Anthony Weiner wasn't sexting 14-year-old girls.
Yeah. Did you see the documentary?
Happened. Yeah, it was an amazing documentary.
I didn't see it.
It's amazing.
I heard that it's great because it didn't start off. So for people who don't know, Anthony Weiner, what was his position in the Democratic?
He was a senator, but I mean, I still remember when he was at the height of his powers, and he was touted as the next big thing, future president of the United States. Real like scrappy kind of fighter in Congress, and everything was about the people and equal rights and and then I don't know, like it's like they've got this pathological desire to just destroy their own lives. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Sexting pictures of yourself when you're a fucking like, what are you doing? You can only in that moment believe that it is a deep-seated self-loathing and self-destruction.
I think that almost comes hand in hand with politics. If you can't deal with the pressure, which I couldn't.
No.
Like, I want to do an episode like fucking appreciation of the politician. And I don't mean Tony Abbott. I don't mean fucking Cory Bernardi. I'm talking about the people who attempt to balance what they can. As much as I'm fucking infuriated that the renewable energy target is now gone.
Oh, it's gone.
Fucking what the fuck? I'm losing my patience with Malcolm Turnbull.
We're all gonna die, man.
We're all gonna fucking die.
Like, I think
it's getting that way. Apparently, I saw something today: 75% reduction in flying insects in Germany in 25 years. Yeah. 75%.
We're all going to die. The problem is...
And it's going to happen quick.
It is happening now. The thing is, you look at the individual on a microcosmic level, the individual very rarely will introduce a drastic change into their life until a catastrophe occurs. So the smoker will not give up smoking until they've got lung cancer. Mm-hmm. The person who had a heart attack will not give up ice cream until, they're fucking having a quadruple bypass surgery. That's the way... Yeah, exactly. And that's the way we're geared as humans, because we're very in the now, and that won't happen to us. We'll avoid it. There's historical precedence of avoiding disaster. No, there isn't. But do you really think that 7 billion people are going to all at once go, hey guys, let's get it together? It's going to take a country going underwater. It is.
Yeah.
It's going to take a country, and by then it's going to be too
fucking late. Yes, absolutely.
Every time I see a pregnant woman on the street, I'm just like, you maniac, what are you doing?
Don't you understand?
Are you not watching the news?
We're in Children of Men here.
It's we have front row seats to the end. Like, it's coming down. It's coming down.
Humanity will survive.
Humanity will survive and the Earth will survive.
Yes.
Don't worry about the Earth.
But we're going to have some trouble. There's going to be,
What are we going to do when Indonesia goes underwater?
What are we going to do?
And there's fucking millions of economic refugees.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Just line the fucking border with machine guns and just shoot anyone that tries to come in? What are we going to do?
Yeah, exactly. It's Children of Men.
Yeah,
so there's a film, Children of Men, which is where we can't have any... Well, it was based on a book, P.D. James, but there was like a movie with Clive Owen, and it's based on the idea that that women can't make any more babies, which was a metaphor for there's no fucking future based on the way we live.
Yeah.
How depressing.
Or it'll be, I just read The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. It's a Philip K. Dick book, and it's set in... I think it's set in 2018.
No, really?
Yeah, I think so. I remember, if it's not that, it's within a year or two of now. And the temperature has gotten so hot that everyone lives in hermetically sealed buildings at all times. You cannot walk out on the street or you incinerate immediately. And the paragraph I remember best is... the power went off in this building for about 3.5 minutes and every single pet died. Everyone's vinyl collections melted. And it's just like, I think that kind of, I don't know. I just, it's so awful. It's so awful. And I don't think that we're going to get it together.
Every time I think we're about to, we don't.
No,
Speaking of which, I got to pee.
I think audiences have been trained to watch things wrong.
No, I agree with you. I think I recognise this. I recognise that's
thing. It's what's your opinion? Tell me now. I feel like so many people, I keep going back to Mother because that's the most divisive thing that's come out in a very long time. I just feel like, people...
And not values divided. Not values divided. Is it values divided? But I thought a lot of it was filmmaking divided.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of it was... I felt like a lot of the criticism of Mother was about... basically from Red Letter Media, was about the obviousness of the things.
No. Most of the criticism I've heard is, it brutalizes Jennifer Lawrence, it's misogynistic, it killed a baby, like all this stuff, and it's like...
But how can to me, if anything, how do you go... How can you say that a film that is sort of somewhat ambiguous and open to interpretation, how can you say that is misogynistic? Having not seen the film, but I'm just saying, how can you say that about anything? Because it's like... Because it's all subjective. It could be completely ironic. It could be satire. It could be...
But also, just depicting a misogynistic character does not make the film itself misogynistic.
Yeah. You can't treat the misogynist as he who should not be named.
The film is highly critical of misogyny. So how do you criticize misogyny without depicting misogyny? Oh, wow, we just figured out the problem. Everyone can fucking relax and stop freaking out. Like, fuck, just relax, everyone. You know what I mean? Yes, the character that Bardem plays is incredibly misogynistic. But the point is that he's not a good dude.
Yeah.
The whole point is it's an indictment of that kind of treatment of women and of other human beings.
Was that really one of the main criticisms?
Big time. That's
wow.
what I've heard.
I mean, I haven't paid attention and I haven't seen the movie.
Big time. So. And I feel like it's because of the migrating online, it's this race to have an opinion before you've even considered what your opinion is. And it's like...
But I don't understand people who do that. Like every time I see it, it's so entrenched in my personality, in my understanding of the world. For me to see that and I go, why do you all have to be so opinionated about this?
Nothing.
Yeah. And then if I say it, I'm mansplaining. And I understand the concept of mansplaining. I understand, and I see that in workplace, but I do also see it from a couple of female leaders that I know. So I would just say it like boss-splaining or like arrogant-splaining.
But also, if there's a man who knows what you're going to tell Neil deGrasse Tyson, oh, stop fucking mansplaining astrophysics
to be fair, I don't think that they do say that.
Or like a plumber or something. Like, I don't know anything about plumbing. Please, mansplain plumbing to me.
No, but I think that they're talking about in the workspace or like people just like asking you something and then they instantly...
All the time, are they talking about the workplace or has it become a general... It's like,
manspreading. Manspreading. You know what that's made me feel? I've just made it extremely... it makes me extremely anxious about explaining anything to anyone.
I know.
And it's made me extremely anxious about having a bit of space on the train. I'm like, I have my feet tighter than the legs tighter than the women now.
Well, it's this madness. Everyone needs to offer an opinion, and I feel like it's without the consideration. There's no time to. Like my roommate asked me, is Mother really that full on? And I was like, well, no more full on than The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Or Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream is a whole lot more
But a lot of people
up.
would say that those are both full on movies.
Yeah, but like.
I would actually say that they are pretty full on movies.
I think they are full on movies, but I don't recall anywhere near this level of fucking outrage when Requiem for a Dream got released.
No.
And you know what never happens in Mother? Jennifer Lawrence never slides a fucking double-ended dildo up her ass and get fucked in front of a group full of fucking cheering men screaming ass to ass. That never happens in that movie. That to me is a lot fucking worse than anything happens in Mother, because everything that happens in Mother is quite clearly parable.
Yeah.
You cannot... I've seen it twice now.
So do you think that that's part of the backlash? Because it's biblical?
See, I didn't see any of the biblical stuff the first time.
Right.
I saw none of it.
I would have picked that shit up straight away.
You would have. But I didn't pick up any of that. To me, it was an indictment of fame culture. It was an indictment of the casual abuse that happens in relationships, not valuing your partner, all these things. And then the second time I saw it, I was like, yeah, of course, there's a lot of biblical allegory in there as well. I think a lot of the backlash happened because people had an emotional reaction, and people don't like sitting in a feeling these days. I feel. I feel like I've told this story so many times, but fuck it, it illustrates the point perfectly. My mother and I about a year ago went and saw that movie Son of Saul. You heard of this movie Son of Saul?
No.
It's a movie set in the gas chambers of Auschwitz-Birkenau. It is a movie about a man who is a Jew who has become a capo. You know what capos were? They were the Jews that the concentration camp officers would basically employ, for want of a better word, to shove Jews in the oven and then pull their bodies out and put them in...
oh, shit.
Yeah. So
but he was just as much at risk of being shoved in the oven.
No. Well,
these were these...
basically what they did with the capos is, they would get however many people were willing to fucking comply with this. And I guess these people were in whatever hardcore survival mode.
Yeah, of course.
Personally, put a bullet in my fucking... If it's a choice between a bullet in my head and putting a kid in an oven, I'll take the bullet. But whatever, who can say when you're in that situation? So yeah, they would... And then, they would all end up getting killed anyway, these capos.
Of course, yeah.
But anyway, so the movie's about this capo, and it is, as you can imagine, just unbelievably harrowing movie. And it's the vast majority of the movie shot in a close-up of this guy's face for an hour and a half, and all the stuff is happening in the peripherals on his side. So there's so much... It's almost more extreme than if you're seeing it all, because it's all implied and it's all through his perspective.
Does he deteriorate?
Well, a storyline starts to unfold where he becomes convinced that one of the young men that's just been gassed is his son, and he wants to give the son a traditional Jewish burial. So it's awful. It's just an awful fucking...
It's so bad.
Yeah, it's awful. Yeah.
What's it called?
It's Son of Saul. I mean, it's an amazing movie. I think it won the...
And Saul is the protagonist, I assume.
Yeah. I believe it won the Best Foreign Picture Oscar, I believe.
Right.
It's
fact check that.
It's unbelievably harrowing. So the movie ends, and it's not even a long movie, and thank God. It only goes for an hour and a half. It's enough when it ends. And it ends, and the movie fades to black.
Sorry, someone's just done a shit.
Perfect timing,
it's a tall house, man, so shit's gonna fall. Gonna fall.
So it fades to black, and we're sitting there, and it's one of those movies where it's black for a while before the director's credit comes up, just to let you sit there.
Yeah.
What the fuck did we just see? And so the movie ends, fades to black. There's a beat of silence. Director's credit hasn't come up. 2 beats of silence, and a woman right behind us goes, "Ah. Well, that didn't have a very happy ending, did it?" It's just like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? And why did you come to see a movie set in the gas chambers of Auschwitz-Birkenau if you needed a happy ending?
Like,
this didn't have a happy ending in real life, sweetie. What the fuck?
Was she expecting, like, at the end of Life is Beautiful, which is also harrowing in many ways?
My grandparents hated that movie.
Really?
For that reason. They found that movie
because the end
deeply
where
offensive.
Runs into, and, like, there's like flowers, and she's just like, "We won."
She found that they both found that movie deeply. They wouldn't have found Son of Saul offensive. They found Life is Beautiful deeply offensive. My grandpa was the only survivor of his entire family.
Yeah.
So to see a movie where it's like, hey, you get out of Auschwitz and everything's fine.
How old was he when he got out of?
He was born in 22, so do the math. What, 20? 20 when it all was properly, kicking off.
I guess that would have been like, because, that's when you're supposed to be, you're physically strongest. So I guess,
Yeah, that's probably why he survived. Yeah, because he got tuberculosis, he got all kinds of stuff. But, it's back to
Was he in a concentration camp?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Big time. He watched his fucking parents get killed. It's unbelievable horrors, which is, again, a big reason I cannot fucking stand the fucking weakness of a lot of what's going on the left at the moment. I'm offended. You're offended? You know what I never fucking heard my entire life growing up? I never once heard my grandparents going, if Hitler hadn't killed all those Jews, my life would be so... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get the life you get. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean... Hitler killing the Jews is offensive. And it's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah,
it's morally wrong. And we stand up for it, not... I'm offended.
Yeah, I'm offended. Yeah, it's
which is true. That's what they say. It's morally wrong, and we stand up for it. But it's like, no.
Do something.
Yeah.
Your offense means nothing. Do something.
And if you can't do anything for this problem, then focus a little less on it, or accept,
focus on a problem that you can do something
or accept transgressions and still stand up for it, but accept the slow movement of society rather than just be like, I'm so pissed off right now.
I'm offended. I'm just going to stamp my foot and be offended.
Like me bitching about Trump doesn't do anything. I think it's interesting, but
but it is. It's a self-reflexive thing where it just and all it really is self-aggrandizing, ego stroking. Look how enlightened I am. I think Trump's a savage. Yeah, of course. Like, wow, that's your fucking, that's your benchmark.
Sorry, go on.
No, but the whole point of me telling this story is to get back to that thing we were saying about, the reason that woman wasn't. In that moment when that woman said that thing, that didn't have a very happy ending, she ruined the moment for every single person sitting in that movie theater. My mum turned around and tore a fucking jugular out. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But it doesn't.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't come from a malicious place. It came from... I feel really bad. And I've got to diffuse this somehow. Oh, that didn't have a very happy ending. Yeah. And it's like, just feel bad.
Yeah.
Just feel bad. It's okay. You're not going to feel bad. Guess what? You're not in the fucking gas chamber. You're okay. Yeah. You're safe. You're in the Dendy in Newtown. You're going to walk out. It's a beautiful day. And watching that fucking horror should make you appreciative of how fucking lucky you are that you can vacation in someone else's misery for an hour and a half and walk back out into your luxurious, beautiful life. Fucking shut up and feel bad for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Shut up. But I feel like it's a very Australian thing as well. It's like,
really?
I'm feeling a feeling. Oh, shit.
But is that Australian or is that Australian male?
I think it's an Anglo thing, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true. I need to piss again. Anglo thing. All right, so Ben Ellwood. Before we were talking about Bill Hicks, and we were talking about that as a sort of moment. Like, was there anyone else who kind of pushed you towards stand-up in high school? This is a super cliche question, I realise.
In high school?
When did you start doing stand-up?
How old was I? 2005, 23, 24 was when I started. So
that's a good age to start, I imagine, because that is when the weight of the world starts crushing you. Yeah.
Correct.
Which is perfect time to talk about it.
Yeah. Although, ironically, no, that's not ironic, but whatever, for want of a better word, I'm a little bit drunk. No one wants to fucking hear from a 23-year-old because you don't fucking know anything. And so standing in front of roomfuls of middle-aged people lecturing them is, it's pushing shit uphill for the first few years. But
hey, you were talking shit about people in their early 20s lecturing you about stuff.
Yeah, I did exactly the same thing.
You did?
The difference was, there is a difference. Because look, everyone when they're 20 thinks that they fucking get it and they know what's fucking right. You know, I often think, you know, it's like, you know how you were in the last month of year 6? Like cocky as fuck, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I run the fucking school. I'm an alpha dog. But it was only a matter of 3 months before you got your fucking, you know, like, oh my God, the older kids aren't just older. They have beards and they're men. And I'm terrified. And it really put you in your place. I feel like, you know, by the time you get to year 12, you've got a similar cocky mindset of like, I'm the king of the school. But when you get spat out, you know, there's not really... It takes a few years for the world to crush you back down.
Which is perfect. I think it takes the post-uni full-time work. When you have to wake up every morning and get punched in the face every fucking day.
And do shit you really don't want to do. But
like I've lived with people that are like musicians, and they're just like, you know, they'll work a few hours a week, but then generally, and I'm just like, have this really positive outlook, and I'm just like, no, you don't fucking know. You need here's what you need. You need to be punched in the face every day for a few years, just to like. I work part-time now, right? But I worked full-time for 7 years and have a shitty degree that I don't use, and worked like just kicked in the nuts, punched in the face every day, and that's what you need in order to have an opinion.
I agree. Well, you need to have lived a little bit. So. Yes, I would stand on stage and I would lecture.
Sorry, I got distracted.
No, I would stand on stage and I would lecture people, and I was out of my depth and they really had no right to be lecturing people. The difference was that was under the umbrella of performance. I would never have walked up to a group of people twice my age and interrupted their conversation to tell them what they were talking about was incorrect or wrong or offensive.
Sure.
And I think that's the difference between... pretty much this generation and every generation that's come before it. There seems to be a real audacity and a real willingness to go, excuse me!
Well, I think there's an element of authority that did not... I don't know. Doesn't every generation say this?
I know.
No. They say bad things about the generation under them. Every generation does that.
And I know how painfully cliched all this is. I just feel like when I was 20, I may have thought that I knew everything. But when I was talking to people 15 years older than me, I would automatically defer to their knowledge because it's like, I'm a baby. I know nothing.
I think that I did that at the time merely as a... acceptance of reality. Like, you know, when I talk to my grandpa and I say, and he'll mention something about marriage equality or anything, he's 90. I'm not changing his mind. No. I'm not going to even delve into that topic.
No, there's no point.
Yeah. And you know, I might say one thing and then I'll leave it. Actually, that's actually not true because then, like, if he says something about whatever Alan Jones said about climate change, then I get fucking fired up. And I'm just like, no. I'm like, no, old man. Yeah, but that's the difference, okay? But that's, okay, there's a difference between that because climate change is fact and the other thing is values-based.
Yeah. And also, like, I think it's realistic to accept, you know, people of a certain age, well, you know, like...
Yeah.
You know, what is your 90-year-old grandfather really affecting society in any deep bad way?
No, he's not right. He's not even. He's not even writing any comments under the Twitter thing. He's not. He's not a troll.
I've never written an internet comment in my entire life.
Neither have I.
Never once. I don't understand the mentality.
Neither do I. I wrote I actually started using Twitter because of my band. And then the first status I think I wrote was, who are these people who leave comments under everything? I don't know them.
No. You know, you only got one life, right?
Yeah.
You know you're on the clock, and this is going to run out soon. And when your life flashes before your eyes, you don't really just want to see a screen staring back at you.
I'll read them, but I'll never write them.
No, I don't engage in... I've engaged in very little social media. I find it to be a toxic wasteland.
I noticed that.
It's awful.
Your Twitter is I wanted to just sort of see what you'd been writing, and I'm just like, oh, this is bare bones.
Bare bones. I was in a few years ago. I was quite a good Twitterer, and I got some good momentum going. But you know, it's a zero-sum game. It is ultimately an empty affair that will leave you never sated. You will never be satisfied.
No.
Seeking external validation from strangers. You think that there will be a day where the tweet goes viral or whatever, and you think that'll fill you up. It won't. It won't. You seen Mother?
I've not seen Mother.
Oh, you got to see Mother. I feel like a big part of Mother is about this.
I know you see a lot of movies, and my movie knowledge is shit. Like, it's shit. I barely go to the movies. So,
it's fine.
No, but like, I think the most recent movie I saw was Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, it didn't really do it for me, but that's fine.
Really?
I admired it on a filmmaking perspective. It didn't move me.
Yeah.
It didn't emotionally move me.
Oh, no, I don't think it emotionally moved me.
No, I didn't have a transcendent... all I'm interested in the moment is transcendent experiences. If I didn't transcend, it was all right.
Right,
but,
okay.
Like, I want to be sitting there and...
So Mother let you...
Mother was transcendent. You know, I saw Good Time the other night. That's a fucking brilliant movie as well.
Who's in that?
Robert Pattinson. Fucking tour de force. Amazing.
Maybe he's doing the Leo thing. From teenage heartthrob,
I think he is the new...
wait a few years,
yes,
then come back.
I believe
Catch
that
me if
he
you
is
can.
the new Leo. If you've seen The Rover, he's brilliant in that. But, you know, like, I feel like now I've seen so many movies, and I think you also get to a place where it's like, oh, I just don't have time for, you know, people that are like, oh, yeah, I watched fucking 25 episodes of some fucking series.
Oh, yeah.
It was okay. What?
Yeah.
You committed to 25 hours and it was just okay?
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I'm watching a movie now, unless... basically all of reality dissolves around me and the totality of what I'm experiencing is this movie, then it was just okay. I don't know how we got onto this, but...
That's all right.
Yeah,
let me
Twitter.
do...
Anyway.
Okay, Mother. That left you transcendent.
Transcendent. Unbelievable. It's an unbelievable film.
But Red Letter Media didn't like it.
That's fine.
That's right.
That's fine. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't unfollow Red Letter Media.
Yeah,
I didn't swear to never watch another fucking Red Letter Media video again because they disagree with me. That's cool. They're entitled to their opinion.
Red Letter Media is a YouTube channel, which is very funny. You should look it up.
Unbelievable. They're so good.
They're so
and
good.
I love how brutally politically incorrect they are. That's what I love about it.
So good. And particularly, and I love how there's the one guy. Oh god, we're going to alienate some people with this, but there's the one guy that is just sort of like has no charisma, has no good looks or anything.
Do you mean Rich?
Yep.
He's so great.
And he's become this like hero mascot
He's so
for
great.
everyone, like everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
I fell asleep last night watching the one where it was a best of the worst where they did exploding varmints.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Oh my god! When you get home, I think that might be the funniest one. Funniest out of everything I've seen.
So fucking great. If for your listeners that don't know Red Letter Media, they might have heard of the Mr. Plinkett Star Wars prequels reviews. If you've never seen them, not only are they fucking hilarious, they are a masterclass in filmmaking.
Completely.
And story structure. They are as long as the movies themselves. Each review goes for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's 6 hours of review in total, and it breaks down beat by beat what is wrong with those.
Absolutely.
And I'm not a Star Wars guy at all. I can't stand the whole fucking thing.
Really?
Okay. Whatever. You know, it's just a fucking movie, guys. Let's all
fair
relax. Enough. Can we please have one day of our lives where we're not reminded that Star Wars is a thing, please? It's the ubiquity of it that bothers me.
But not
anyway.
today, it seems.
It's so fucking ubiquitous everywhere. You know,
it's a little...
It's just everywhere.
I remember, like, I think it was about 10 years ago that... everyone started wearing, shirts with like R2-D2 on it. I don't know. I remember being really annoyed at that thing, but I do like Star Wars.
See, I never had them as a child.
Okay.
Never saw it as a kid.
Yeah,
so...
no. I saw. Okay, so for example, I saw the Sandlot Kids only as an 18-year-old, and. Actually, a friend of yours, Thraxy, was the one who insisted that we watch it. This is in a band that I was in high school, and he's just like, oh, we all got to watch the Sandlot Kids, and everyone else is like, yeah, that's the best movie. And I'm watching it going, what the fuck is this? Like,
nostalgia.
This is nostalgia.
Yeah, gets you over the line with a lot of things. Yeah, see, I never saw Indiana Jones as a kid. I saw Temple of Doom. That's not true. I loved Temple of Doom because it was so fucked up. But I never saw a lot of those Amblin movies. So watching them as an adult, I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I don't have that little thing that goes, I remember when I was happy.
Yeah. Well, I saw them and then but I never saw them since. Like, so, for example, E.T., haven't seen it. I mean, since I was under 10.
Yeah, right.
So it has no significance to me because I never got that reminder, unlike Star Wars, where I did get sort of, little reminders here and there of what it was like. And if you don't have that, then you have nothing to cling on to.
It's just, and it's like, really, it's not that deep, guys. It's just fucking pew, 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 pew. let's just relax, please. I had a very unconventional movie viewing relationship with movies as a child. I saw most movies I saw were highly inappropriate for my age bracket.
Right, okay.
Me and my mum would go to the movies, and I saw Falling Down when I was 10.
Wait, what's Falling Down?
The one where Michael Douglas clicks out and starts shooting everyone because he's had a bad day.
Yeah.
I saw Natural Born Killers at the cinema when I was 11. Saw The Crying Game when I was 10. Just these I remember so many times sitting in the cinema with mum and getting halfway through a movie, and as a kid sitting there going, I should not be watching this movie.
Yeah. Well, speaking of my grandpa, this is not like a risque movie, but there's one section in it that is risque. Me, Myself, and Irene.
Oh,
just a Jim Carrey. It is presented as even there's narration and stuff like that.
Doesn't he play a schizophrenic in that movie?
Yeah, that's right. And there's one section.
Oh, how insensitive.
There's one section where there's a woman breastfeeding, and then someone ogles her, and then the nice version of Jim Carrey says, "Hey, you shouldn't ogle her," or whatever. And then when he turns into the other guy, Hank, then he's like, then she looks down, and then he's sucking on her boob instead of the baby. And I saw that at the movies with my grandpa, and I remember just being like, oh God, no, grandpa's next to me now. He's having second thoughts. We both know it. I saw Child's Play as a kid. That
fucked me up as a kid.
Fucked me up.
And then you get as an adult and you're like, all you got to do is boot him in the head, and he goes flying across the room. I saw Requiem for a Dream with my grandparents at the cinema. That was hilarious.
But with the double-ended dildo?
Yeah, well, that's the part I was building to. So the movie ended, and, obviously I was 19, harrowed.
Oh, completely
just absolutely fucking harrowed. My grandparents are Holocaust survivors. They didn't give a shit. They weren't upset at all. The only thing that my grandma was really upset by was when...
Can you physically escape the drug addiction somehow? Is it got walls?
Yeah. The part that really upset my grandmother was when Ellen Burstyn goes to the doctor and the doctor doesn't make eye contact with her. She was like, I relate to that. That's exactly how they treat you. But we're standing in the parking lot. These are Polish Jews born in the 1920s. And they were so they were cool. They were so funny and so progressive and open-minded. Yeah. Both of them are gone, yeah.
Yeah.
But they were just so open-minded, and so the first time I took ecstasy, I went to my grandparents' house the next day and told them all about it. And they were
really?
Were you safe? And I was like, my grandma was a chemist, so she was very fascinated. She was like, what did it do?
Oh, that's great.
We're talking about it, and she was like, look, if I was young, I would probably do it too, but just be safe and blah blah blah. So at the end of Requiem for a Dream, we're standing in the parking lot, and I'm just like a mess. And they're like, it was an interesting movie. And then my grandma goes, but I'm confused. What were those two women doing at the end? And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, when they were pushing their bums against each other, what were they doing?
So if people who don't know, Requiem for a Dream, drug addiction movie, at the end, they all reach such a point with their addiction that one of them, they're like,
she's basically become a sex slave or
sex
a sex
slave
worker,
and they're double-ended dildo.
They're fucking it. Yeah, there's two girls, and while the ring of gross elderly businessmen standing around them chanting ass to ass,
and the music is going.
It's unpleasant. Yeah, that movie is almost unwatchable as an adult because it's just so melodramatic and histrionic.
It fucked me up when I saw it.
Oh, dude, it destroyed me the first time I saw it.
Because I've had some drug addiction issues in my family. And that mother...
Oh, the mother's the most devastating part of the movie.
By far.
Yeah, absolutely. That monologue she does about, why do I even get up in the morning? Why should I make the bed? Just devastating.
Dear God.
So yeah, they're like, what were those two women doing at the end when they were pushing their bums against each other? And I was like, keep in mind, they're very open-minded. We talked about everything. I was like, well, they were using a double-ended dildo. And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, well, you know what a vibrator is? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, a double end, it's like a big floppy vibrator that doesn't vibrate, and it's got
another one on each end.
And she just goes, oh, we need to buy another ticket to see that movie again.
Ben Ellwood, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you, man. I had a lot of fun talking to you.
I don't know you at all. And,
we haven't met until today.
No, we never met until today.
I've
seen you stand up.
Have you?
Fuck Club once.
Were you at Fuck Club?
Yeah.
Where? Which venue?
It was one of the times at the Chippo. I was down there.
Oh, you're at the Chippo, right?
I've been to. Was Fuck Club used to be somewhere? Was it the
Roxbury was our home for many years.
I went to a couple of those.
Yeah, they were the golden years. The Chippo years.
I went once and there was pretty much no one there except for me and one other person, and It was. I think I saw Blake Mitchell there.
Oh, you know Blake?
Very loosely, I know Blake. Yeah.
Blake is my non-biological son.
In terms of voice?
Yeah, well, we're very similar, but yeah, no, he's
because
like
when I heard you for the first time, I'm like, oh, does Justin Hamilton have Blake Mitchell on the podcast?
Me, Dave Eastgate, and Blake Mitchell all have the same voice.
Yeah.
And there'll be so many times one of us will be up the back of a comedy room talking shit, and the person on stage will be like, "Fucking shut up, Dave," or "Shut up, Ben." It's not me.
So was that the point of Fuck Club? To like, because there's a lot of sort of interjecture at some points. That was the point of it, right?
Well, the point was to make people be as sincere as they were capable of being. I fucked it up.
Start again. Yep.
The point was to force people to become as sincere as they could possibly be in that moment, and not fake their way through. So an interjection would come if we felt like someone was just reading off auto cue behind their eyes. If they weren't being authentic and they weren't being there in that moment, we would throw something at them to force them to have to be in the moment.
Even if they were killing, the fact that they were going on script or it sounded like they were on script,
they were killing not so much, because usually
you want to let them have
our audience, especially when the room became, when it became big, our audience were so in tune with the vibe of the night that really, barring a couple of performances over the years, it was very hard to destroy there if you weren't being very sincere and reacting in the moment to what was happening.
So just for people who don't know, Fuck Club is, how old is it? It's
we started it in 2000 and I don't even know. I think it's like 10 years old now. It's fucking crazy.
So around 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I think it's officially done now.
Yeah. Really? Like, because I saw it at the Chippo.
Yeah.
It was only a few months ago.
Yeah, we ran it. I tried.
Because it was originally at the Roxbury.
Really, the Roxbury.
In Glebe for many years. In Glebe in Sydney.
And that's the room that show works in. We tried making it work in the Chippo, and it's just that room.
Chippo's too big.
Yeah, well, there's the way that room worked was when it was a 4-wall box where it was like Stockholm syndrome. If you were in that room, you were fucking in that room, and you couldn't fart without everyone hearing it. And we had complete control over the lighting grids. We could plunge the room into darkness. We could turn the lights on at a moment's notice. We had a spotlight up the back, so if someone was being lippy in the audience, doof, the spotlight was suddenly in their face. It was like, answer for yourself. And it was also just very much a time and a place, and the right combination of people, a lot of hungry new performers that really wanted to get out of their comfort zone and test their limits. And
a guy I know who apparently tried there. I don't think I actually ever saw him. His name was Nick Andrews. He was a friend of Blake's.
Oh yeah, no. Nick Andrews used to do pornographic storytelling in the early days of the Roxbury.
Oh really?
Yeah, and we used to play this.
He's the drummer for Dumb Saint.
Yes.
He's an amazing drummer. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and we used to play this like sleazy, bluesy jazz underneath him while he read out these disgusting stories. So it was just it was open slather. You could do whatever you wanted, and at that time, really, that was the only place where you could do anything. And we had a very close relationship with the bar manager, who was kind of just like, you guys do whatever the fuck you want to do. If there's bodily fluids, just put a tarp down and don't tell me. And so it was just very much of its time. And the irony of bringing it back to the Chippo was, a big part of the ethos of Fuck Club was, you don't repeat yourself. And then so, we
from night to night.
Well, yeah, from show to show. And then, we kind of got caught in a logical fallacy of trying to bring the show back, which is kind of counter to the point of the show.
Right,
the moment is the moment, and you can't go back. You just can't go back. So we did put on some really cool shows in the Chippo. But, it became evident as it went on that the moment has passed.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. I think that vibe is. But it's really
a necessary
great.
Shame.
It's a necessary shame. What can you do? You can't fucking That's the horror of being in the arts for a period of time now. Is that when you first enter, you know, you want to fucking burn everything down.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
to build a new edifice. You know, and then you do. And then over a long enough timeline, you start ossifying and kind of becoming the guys that you criticized when you first came in.
Oh,
you know, trying to replicate, you know, back when I started comedy, it was heaps better. And, you know, I think objectively it was. But at the same time, you sound, you know, the same way you can't bitch about people on the left without sounding like a fucking men's rights activist.
All right, Ben Ellwood, thanks heaps for coming on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Lovely operation you've got here.
Thank you.
I'm mightily impressed by this fucking studio space. Like I said, every other podcast I do is basically, you know, we're hunched over an iPhone.
Well, I've already done that before, so that's the overstages.
Sweet. Yeah.
Is there a particular song that you would like to close out with tonight?
Fuck, what can we do? I've been obsessively listening to Nick Cave. At the moment.
Well, just give me like a big Nick Cave
Let's
song.
Let's go fucking Red Right Hand. Why not?
Right Hand.
It's the most well-known Nick Cave song. Maybe not the best Nick Cave song, but it is a damn fine one.
It is. It always reminds me of burglars sneaking into a house.
Yeah, I mean, any song where you've got, you know, gongs and bells going off as a punctuation point is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and the strings are just plucked strings. He
really is the best.
Yes.
Like I forget now and then I'll go for a few years without it.
And then he sucks you back in some other form, Grinder Man or whatever.
The last 4 months, I've started from Her to Eternity, and I just go all the way through to Skeleton Tree, just one album after another. Like it takes about 2 days.
I need to listen to
it's unbelievable. More. Anyway, Red
right.
Right Hand. Let's go that.
Okay, all right. Thanks for coming on. Let's listen to Red Right Hand by Nick Cave.
End bracket.